Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's edition of The Pole Position, we've got 3 NASCAR races and 1 Formula 1 race to recap for you this past weekend. If you didn't see, we did have an extra rewind show this week that we haven't had in weeks past, as we are now covering the NASCAR K&N Pro Series as well, both the East and the West. The West Series did have a race this week at Meridian Speedway in Meridian, Idaho, so we do have that for you tonight on Pole Position as well. That is a new series that we just started covering this week, and we will continue to cover into the future, both K&N East and K&N West. So let's go chronological order for the NASCAR stuff this weekend. We'll start with the NASCAR Xfinity Series. They were in action Saturday afternoon from the Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course, otherwise known as the Roval in Concord, North Carolina. The Drive for the Cure 200 presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. 55 laps, 125.4 miles around the 2.28 mile road course. Chase Briscoe picks up his first career Xfinity Series victory in this race. Absolutely dominated this one, led 33 of the 55 laps. He was definitely, if he wasn't the fastest car out there, he was one of the fastest cars. I mean, there's an argument to be made that Austin Cindric had the fastest car on the track, but due to his mistake early in Stage 1, was never quite able to rebound from that to really challenge for the win. Justin Marks, in his final Xfinity Series race and his penultimate NASCAR race period, as he did run the Cup race on Sunday as well, comes home with a very strong second place finish in that 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. Austin Cindric was able to rebound for a third place finish. Ryan Preece there in the 4th position, and his teammate Christopher Bell rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Matt Tifft, Cole Custer, Kaz Gralla, Tyler Reddick, and Daniel Hemrick. Alright, so we'll move on now to Saturday night and on to the K&N Pro Series West. Like I said, they were in action Saturday night at the Meridian Speedway, Meridian, Idaho, for the Napa Auto Parts Idaho 208. 208 laps, 52 miles around the quarter-mile oval there in Idaho. Haley Deegan, 17-year-old Haley Deegan, picks up the victory, the first female to win in a NASCAR K&N Pro Series race. She was able to make history Saturday night. She only led 1 lap, but it was the important one as she got the lead on a bump and run on her teammate Cole Rouse in turn 1 on the final lap. And she was able to hold on for that final lap and win the event, her first career K&N Pro Series West victory. Her teammate Cole Rouse came home in the 2nd position. And a 1-2-3 finish for Bill McAnally Racing as Derek Kraus comes home in the 3rd position. Derek Thorne in 4th. Ryan Partridge rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Trevor Huddleston, Matt Levin, Jeff Jefferson, Cody Vanderwall, and Stingray Robb. Alright, so now let's move on to Sunday, the final NASCAR race of the weekend, and it was the Bank of America Roval 400, again from the Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course, Concord, North Carolina. 109 laps, 248.5 miles around the 2.28 mile road course. After a wild, crazy finish, if you didn't see it, go back and check out the Rewind show. We do have the highlight of that on the Cup Series Rewind. It's linked down below in the description. It looked like it was going to be Martin Truex Jr. or Jimmy Johnson until we got into the chicane on the front stretch, and then Ryan Blaney comes through the smoke, takes his first victory of the season, first for Team Penske, and that advances him into the round of 12. Jamie McMurray with a strong 2nd place finish. Clint Boyer there in the 3rd position keeps his playoff hopes alive as well, advancing to the round of 12. Alex Bowman, same thing for him. He was also right there around the cutoff line most of the race, but he does advance to the round of 12 with a strong 4th place finish. Kurt Busch rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Chase Elliott, AJ Allmendinger, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, and Joey Logano. Now, after Sunday's elimination race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we did eliminate 4 drivers from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, those being Jimmy Johnson, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, and Denny Hamlin. Now, like I said, if you want a more in-depth recap of the Cup race, we just kind of catch you up quickly on what happened over the weekend here on Pole Position. We don't really go in-depth. If you want to know more in-depth recaps of any of the stock car races that happened over the weekend, that being ARCA, NASCAR K&N Pro Series, Camping World Trucks, Xfinity, or the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, we have a rewind show for that where we break it down with highlights, race results, post-race interviews, point standings after the race. We usually have an exclusive race winner interview for each ARCA race. We're working on doing that for K&N races as well as the Xfinity and truck races. Hailie Deegan interview hasn't quite happened yet, but we're looking at getting that set up tomorrow. Again, she's got a crazy week going on, media appearances everywhere. So we're just trying to fit into her schedule somewhere. We're still working on that. Should happen within the next couple of days. That will be its own separate video here on the channel here within the next day or two. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But like I said, rewind shows, they're all linked down below in the description. If you need to go back and check those out if you haven't seen them yet and you want a more in-depth recap of what happened in these races, those are the shows for you. All right, so the final race of the weekend in terms of what we cover was the VTB Russian Grand Prix from the Sochi Autodrome in Sochi, Russia. 53 laps, 309.9 kilometers around the 5.848 kilometer street course in Sochi. Lewis Hamilton picks up his 8th victory of the season and extends his points lead over Sebastian Vettel in a somewhat controversial finish. Lots of controversy around this one as Valtteri Bottas not only won the pole for this race, but seemed to have more speed in the car than Hamilton did, and probably a lot of folks would say should have won this race, but unfortunately due to team orders and some blistering on Hamilton's tires, he was told to drop to second to let Hamilton take the lead to save that blistering, and that gave Hamilton the lead after leading 14 laps in this race. Bottas did come home in the second position, though, with Sebastian Vettel rounding out the podium. Kimi Räikkönen and Max Verstappen also finishing in the top 5. Daniel Ricciardo finished in the 6th position. Charles Leclerc in 7th, the final car on the lead lap with Kevin Magnussen. Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez also finishing in the top 10, also grabbing points from Sochi. All right, so that's your results from the VTB Russian Grand Prix, and I think that'll do it for us tonight here on Pole Position. As I said, if you want to see rewind shows of any of the NASCAR races from this past weekend, they're linked down below in the description. More in-depth recaps of what happened in those races. Pole Position is just here to quickly catch you up on what happened over the weekend. Those are the shows you want if you want more detail on what happened in these races. So like I said, there should be a Hailie Deegan interview going up here in the next couple days. I don't want to promise it just yet because we don't have it 100% lined out as to when it will be, but we are in talks with her people to try and get that to happen. Just haven't quite been able to line up with her schedule yet. Like I said, it's a crazy week for her, making the history that she did on Saturday night. Everybody wants a piece of her this week. We're just trying to get a little slice of that time, and I'm sure we will eventually, just not exactly sure when that will be. But we will be back in action with our live coverage from the track this Saturday as the ARCA Racing Series is back in action from Lucas Oil Raceway of Indianapolis. Their rescheduled date that was supposed to happen about a month ago has been pushed back to this Saturday night, October 6th, under the lights there from the Lucas Oil Raceway. Should be an exciting day of racing. We'll be talking to all your favorite drivers as we usually do. If we're not talking to your favorite driver, let us know, and we will seek them out and get their thoughts on how they're feeling at Lucas Oil Raceway. Might have a little bit of extra coverage. Not really sure on that yet, but at the very least, we will do the same amount of coverage that we have done up to this point at ARCA races. Looking to try and do a little bit of extra stuff that we haven't done before, just not 100% sure what that will be exactly or how it will work out at Lucas Oil Raceway, but we're looking into some other ideas for things to do for you from the track. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, you need to go down below and do it. Ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of that live from the track at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. So that way you know exactly when it comes out and you can keep updated on what is happening all day Saturday from the track and know exactly what is happening. And if you like this video, hit that big thumbs up button. It's much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Pole Position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.